Welcome back to True Endgame. For this video, we'll go over the top 10 mounts you can grind in a day or less, and I bet some of these mounts you probably don't even have yet. But let's change that, shall we? To kick things off, we'll start with the Silverwind Larion. The mount itself is fairly straightforward to get, and you don't need to be of Kyrian Covenant to actually get this. You can be any Covenant. What we'll have to do is get the Crystal Mallet of Heralds, made from Forged Light Hephaestus in order to unlock the mount. And the NPC is located south of the Spires of Ascension by the dungeon entrance. Now, in order to craft the mallet, we'll first have to find 50 of these crystal shards around Bastion, and the progress is shared with all your characters, meaning you can collect them on more than one character at a time if you do decide to do that. And additionally, with dragon riding, this can take you a little over 30 minutes to complete. If for whatever reason you can't use dragon riding or flying in general in the Shadowlands, then you'll have to check if you finished the quest line in Korthia called the Primus Returns. After completing this, you should have the Memories of Sunless Skies, which will allow you to fly in the Shadowlands. Now, to help with locating all of these crystals as well as to track your progress, I'd recommend getting the Handy Notes Shadowlands add-on made by Larion, which allows you to see all the crystal locations on your map with a short description of where they are. If you don't see them, then you'll have to go to your map, and there should be a treasure chest looking icon near the top right side panel, and clicking it will prompt a drop box. Some of them might be unchecked, and you can decide which ones you'll want to track or shown on your map, but since we're looking for the crystals, make sure you have the shard label ticked, and that way you can now see all the locations of the shards on your map. Once we have all 50, we'll interact with Forged Light Hephaestus to forge the Crystal Mallet of Heralds, and with that, we'll use it to ring the Vesper of the Silverwind located in the northwest part of the map to obtain the mount, and there you go. The next mount on this list is going to be the Slumbering Worldsnail, which can be purchased from dealer Vexel for 1000 mag mote collected from mobs around the Obsidian Citadel area. But before we get started, there is a prerequisite to collect the currency needed to buy the mount, and that is to complete the questline The Shadow of His Wings, which is part of the Sojourner of the Waking Shores achievement. Allow me to quickly go over what exactly that is. You first have to make sure you've progressed far enough to the campaign in Dragonflight to the point where you can pick sides in the Obsidian Citadel between Rathian and Sabellion. Then we'll have to complete this short quest line that starts with Ingot located here on this ledge. For some reason, you will not be able to see the quest either on your minimap or your map in general, so you'll have to land on this ledge I'm showing right now. You'll pick up the quest Occultist's Misgivings and follow along this short quest line. Afterwards, you'll have access to the World Breaker hub that has the vendor who sells the mount, as well as have access to an NPC called Iggy's the Believer. From there, you'll be able to pick up a quest called Unlocking Our Past, which requires a restored obsidian key to complete. The key in question is combined from key fragments and keyframes we loot from mobs around the area, and if you don't see the quest Unlocking Our Past, then you'll have to turn the restored obsidian key over to Sabellion or Rathian first to unlock the quest with Iggy's. The quest is repeatable and awards you with a cash that has a chance to drop a World Breaker membership card, which is what we'll need to finally start farming the magmotes. A couple of tips here: the buff lasts for 2 days and will disappear if you die in any way. So I'd suggest not doing dungeons or raids or PvPs while you have this buff active, since dying in any instance will lose us the buff. Should we lose the buff, we will have to hand in more keys to get more boxes and get another membership. So I'd suggest buying this backup card we can purchase from Vexel for 20 motes in case we die, which saves us both our time and keys. For the best location to farm these motes, it'll have to be in the vault area underneath the citadel, since the spawn rates are relatively fast and almost continuous. There might be groups farming for this, so I'd check out the LFG tab. If you're lucky, you can find a few groups and be able to join one, since a good group doing this can net you around 500 motes per hour. Once we have 1000 motes, we'll purchase the mount, and there you go. The third mount on this list will be the Brinedeep Bottom Feeder, which is a water only mount, and to get it, we'll need to fish up a currency called Drowned Mana in order to purchase the mount from Conjurer Margos on this small island north of Dalaran, but we'll first have to be best friends reputation with Margos in order to have access to buy it. The Drowned Mana is fished up in Margos retreat area, and that is what we'll need to obtain reputation as well as buy things from him. With that said, your fishing skill has no correlation as to how much of these Drowned Mana you can catch per cast, but you're gonna be getting up to 2 per cast, and we can stack the mana up to 100, but be sure to use it or turn turn them in once you reach that mark, or else additional fishing for mana will be lost. The first time we meet Conjurer Margos, we'll be given a one-time quest called Drowned Mana. This one we can complete by fishing up and turning in 1 drowned mana for 250 reputation. Afterwards, subsequent turn-ins will be 50 rep for a mana and 500 rep for 10 mana. To help with the grind here, there is an item called the Mark of Aqueous. Upon use, will summon Aqueous the Unleashed. This NPC is an elemental that when killed increases the catch rate of drowned mana by up to 100% for up to 3 minutes. Since the Mark of Aqueous item is a unique one, I'd advise using it as soon as we catch one since we can't stack it. It's worth noting that you can use a class trial account to farm for mana in case you don't have game time. You can grind all the way up to best friend reputation level with Conjurer Margos and purchase the mount when you get more game time. Additionally, to help with the rep grind, you can also wait for these events that give you extra rep gains such as the Dark Moon Fair, Hollow's End, and Pilgrim's Bounty. Or if you have a human race character, might as well use them for this rep grind since Diplomacy is one of their racial abilities, and that buffs the rep you gain by up to 10%. To be able to purchase the mount, we'll need to be best friend reputation with Margos, and each reputation level needs about 8,400 reputation points. It'll take a total of 840 drowned mana to get max rep with Conjurer Margos, and an additional 100 for purchasing the mount. As for the fourth mount on this list, it's gonna be a 2-for-1. It's going to be the Saltwater Seahorse and the Siltwing Albatross, which we can purchase using Seafarers, doubloons, and we can farm these by doing island expeditions. A quick TLDR for those who haven't done island expeditions yet, you'll unlock the feature by leveling up to 35 and completing 2 footholds of your choice by the war table in your respective faction's hub in Shadowlands. For Horde, it'll be in Zandalar by Nathanos Blightcaller right by the ship, and for Alliance in Corrales by Halford Wormbane at the dock. After you're done, you'll be doing an introductory quest as a trial for the island expedition, and the quest will be called the Azerite Advantage, picked up from the 2 NPCs I mentioned earlier. Keep in mind, once you unlock the island expedition for one character, it'll be available throughout all future characters in your account. These expeditions work like scenarios and are queued up. For the Horde, this will be towards the dock at Zuldazar by Captain Rezokun, while for the Alliance, it'll be outside the portal room just past the ship with the mission table over at Flynn Fairwind. But you'll be able to see both of them on your map by this treasure chest icon. Now, as we queue up, we'll be offered varying difficulties, but we want to be doing this on Mythic since that gives us better rewards. Ideally, if you could find yourself 2 people to party up with, it'll be even better since the process will be a whole lot quicker. The doubloons can be found randomly around the island, like from mobs for example, or opening the bags which we get at the end of the island expedition, since we'll need 500 for the Saltwater Seahorse and 1,000 for the Siltwing Albatross. Additionally, after running 5 island expeditions on 5 different islands, we'll have unlocked the ability to research island perks, and one of them is called the Island Plunderer, which grants us a chance to receive additional doubloons during island expeditions. Since the expeditions only have 3 islands available in rotation every week, unlocking the perk will require at least 2 weeks to get. It's also worth mentioning that while you're farming for these 2 mounts, you might get yourself one of the 6 RNG mounts randomly, but they are relatively low drop chances and depend on factors like the mobs you fight and kill, but that's just an added bonus. And here's a video going over it in detail, so check it out if you're interested. Now the next mount on this list is going to be the Noble Bruffalon, and to get this mount, we'll purchase it from Storykeeper Ashek, located here in the Forbidden Reach for 100,000 elemental overflow. Now I know 100,000 of anything sounds like a lot, but the quickest way to go about farming for this mount is going to be rare hunting in the Forbidden Reach. The reason I said rare hunting is the fastest is because they can drop up to 600 elemental overflow per kill. I'd suggest going to the LFG to find people rare hunting since it'll make the process a whole lot faster and easier, and these people just fly from rare to rare, and doing so can get you up to 5,000 elemental overflow in around 10-ish minutes. As additional notes, dailies are available and reward up to 450 elemental overflow. World quests will give around 150, so both of these are worth doing while you're in the area and waiting for rares to spawn. Then there are also Forbidden Hordes, which are chests that give about 600 elemental overflow, and these spawn every 30 minutes. And now for the 6th mount on this list, it's going to be the Lucid Nightmare, the infamous maze-based mount that I'm pretty sure some people lost their minds trying to get. I mean, I almost did. I could go over each and every step you'll need to do in order to get the mount, but I think that should deserve its own video considering how long it'll take to cover it. So to keep this brief, there's going to be a link down below to the Warcraft Secrets website since they covered basically everything there is to know about the Lucid Nightmare, from prerequisite items like a Shadow Weave mask to puzzles and minigames. I just like to quickly commend the fact that they managed to find out some of these. I mean, a binary based 10-digit code was one of the steps here. So props to them for that one, but yeah, the link will be down below. Now on to the 7th mount, it's going to be the Torghast mounts. The mounts we'll be able to get from Torghast are going to be the Mawrat. So the Colossal Ebon Claw Mawrat, the Colossal Soul Shredder Mawrat, and the Colossal Umbrahide Mawrat. Then there are these two mounts. One of them is a Skeletal Bear mount, which is the Corridor Creeper, and the other one is the Mossworn Charger, which is a wraith looking horse, which looks pretty cool. For those who haven't unlocked Torghast yet, here's a quick rundown for the requirements. This needs to be unlocked by doing Shadowlands content. You want to progress far enough until you pledge yourself to a covenant at level 60. Mind you, it won't matter which covenant. Then you'll be offered a questline which will take us to the Maw called Explore Torghast, picked up from High Lord Bolvar Forjugan in Oribos. Once you finish this questline, Torghast itself will be available to your entire account. For players who have completed Chapter 2 of the Covenant campaign, the quest can be picked up from the same NPC I mentioned earlier to skip the Torghast introductory chapter in its entirety, and this affects subsequent characters too. And now about Torghast itself. If you're new to this, stick around. Torghast itself can be quite overwhelming, especially if you have no idea which is which. But the main thing we'll want to do is complete each wing that is composed of 16 layers each. We'll want to prioritize doing a flawless run on layer 16 in every wing of Torghast, and doing a flawless run needs us to reach above 200 score. Now to get to layer 16, it'll require a bit of playtime as you'll be starting from layer 1 and working our way up to 16, and that's for each and every wing. So about that flawless run, we'll want to clear out every room and every possible objective. Each room has enemies, interactables, and a boss at the end, so clearing the mobs, breaking boxes, freeing souls, and defeating the end boss all count towards the completion score, but be sure to avoid traps since they affect your score. There's also a timer, so killing bosses under a certain time limit, collecting a set number of anima powers, and destroying all boxes, freeing all souls, and whatnot will give us even more points. We'll also have a mechanic called the Empowered Bar, and when it's full, we can activate that to get the Empowered buff. This will last for 36 seconds and doubles the points that we collect from Torghast activities. Once we do a flawless run on all layer 16 on every wing of Torghast, we will get ourselves the Colossal Soul Shredder Mawrat, and along the way, we'll be getting the second mount, which is the Mossworn Charger, since this also requires us to do a flawless run but on layer 12 instead. Now the other mounts for Torghast are going to be rewarded while we're working towards unlocking all of the layers. So the Colossal Umbrahide Mawrat, for example, has a below 2% drop chance from bosses at the end of every Torghast run on layers 13 and above. So keep that in mind while we're working towards doing the flawless layer 16 runs for every wing. The 4th mount from Torghast is the Colossal Ebon Claw Mawrat, and all we'll have to do is complete all layer 4 of the Jailer's Gauntlet in Torghast, and this is a challenge mode that's sort of a boss rush type of gameplay. And the 5th mount here is going to be the Corridor Creeper, and this is rewarded for completing layer 8 on the Twisting Corridors, which is also a challenge mode. And now onto the 8th mount for this list, it's going to be the Bleakhoof Ruinstrider, which is a relatively simple mount to get. It will require us to slay 2,000 non-trivial demons in Argos, over at Crocol Hovel or Darkfall Ridge, since that's a great spot where mobs spawn relatively quickly. Now the goal here is to finish the achievement and chew mana buns, so if you're a class that deals with a lot of enemies at once, it'll take you an hour or two to get the mount, and once we get the achievement, the mount will be rewarded in our mailbox. If you haven't unlocked Argos yet, here's a rundown on how to go about it. So first off, we'll want to get the new Dalaran in the Broken Isles, then we'll complete the quest called Uniting the Isles. We'll follow along until we pick up a quest chain called Hand of Fate, which will eventually unlock the portal transport to and from Argos. If you want a more in-depth guide of this, we'll have a video in the description down below. For the 9th mount on this list, it'll be the Saberstalkers mount, which are the Wild Gore Tusk and the Bristling Hellboar, and to get them both, we'll need 6,000 Black Fang Claws, and we'll buy the mounts from Zetanga in Tanan Jungle. The claws we'll need to purchase the mounts are dropped by Black Fang creatures found in Fangrilla, located here, but we're gonna have to grind the reputation of the Saberstalkers to Exalted first, and the main way to gain rep is mobs, killing the rares, and elite mobs in the area. Additionally, we can grab the daily quest, Rumble in the Jungle, and upon completion, this will give us 3,500 reputation with the Saberstalkers. So that should help up with the grind. Every elite we kill will give us 25 rep, while the rares give us 500 each. So if you could do a lap around the area and make sure to go inside the caves and loot everybody along the way, we'll get the mount in no time. And now for the 10th mount on this list. This is going to be the domesticated Razorback purchased from Gazrek Gearlock or Mimi Wizzlebub, located here outside Lockrath. And to be able to purchase the mount, we'll need to be exalted with the Steamwheedle Preservation Society. The main way to gain rep with them is handing in these High Mall relics and Gorian artifact fragments that drop from the mobs around the High Mall area located here. Turning in the High Mall relics give us 350 rep, while the Gorian artifacts give 250. For additional sources, there are also rares that drop items, and turning them in will give us 500 reputation each. The rares will be located here in Negran. I'll have a map showing them up right now. Go on, I'll give you guys time to take a screenshot or something. Don't worry, I won't. Before we end the video, I'll go over the Mr. Pandaria Remix Mounts we can get from the bronze vendors from reaching level 20 on a time runner character, and a beautiful golden recolor of the Astral Serpent for completing the Veil of Eternal Blossoms during the Mr. Pandaria Remix content. So we'll start with the bronze vendor mount sold by Hemet Nessingwary, the Beastmaster found in any Infinite Bazaar hub. Now keep in mind that there are over 43 mounts available for bronze purchase, and 13 of these are rare mounts you'd get back in live, but now they can be purchased for bronze. The remaining 30 are new and exclusive mounts, only purchasable during the Mr. Pandaria Remix content as far as we know, but take note that the 30 mounts I just mentioned are gonna be usable in retail after we purchase them and learn them. For the 13 mounts, it'll cost us a total of 421,300 bronze to get them all. The cheapest of the rares go for 18,700, while the most expensive ones will be 38,500 bronze. Since we still have more than 2 months to get them all before they go back to being only obtainable from drops, I'd suggest saving up for these since it is quite a hefty amount and it saves us from the tough below 3% drop chance grinding. And now for the exclusive 30 mounts of the Mr. Pandaria Remix content, the cheapest of these will go for about 2,200 bronze, while the expensive ones go for as high as 6,600 bronze. Adding it all up, it'll cost 103,400 bronze in total to get them all. And remember, once we do purchase and learn them, we'll be able to use them in the live version once the remix is over. And now for the last two exclusive mounts for the Mr. Pandaria Remix, they are going to be the Astral Emperor Serpent and the Reigns of the August Phoenix. Both are going to be unlocked by playing through the Mr. Pandaria Remix content, with the August Phoenix given once you reach level 20 with the time running character, which will take you less than an hour even on a fresh account with your first time running character if you follow the quest lines and do your dailies with scenarios and dungeons. Now if you're like me and you blasted through all levels and maxed out your first time running character, you might have gotten the mount already and didn't even realize it. It's okay to admit it, I didn't notice it either. So I checked my mount collection tab and type in August if you pass level 20, and for sure it'll be there. And now for the Astral Emperor Serpent, this one has quite the simple requirements in order to get it. All we'll have to do is complete 2 achievements under the Veil of Eternal Blossoms. Now if you're on a highly populated realm, I recommend completing the Golden Lotus achievement as well as the Looking for Groove Veil of Eternal Blossom, since getting too exalted with the Golden Lotus will roughly take you less than an hour, since their dailies give a lot of rep and you can farm mobs at a pretty decent amount of reputation over at the ruins of Gulao. The other achievements vary depending on preference, but I would suggest staying away from getting exalted for the August Celestials since it'll take quite a while. But at the end of the day, it all depends on your preference. So if you do like rep grinding and doing dailies, then it's totally up to you if you want to do the August Celestials. This is just my personal recommendation. If you would like a more in-depth guide on your options as well as possible methods to do these achievements, I highly recommend checking out this video since it does go over it pretty well. But that's about it for this video. If you found it informative, leave a like and subscribe, and definitely check out True Endgame's Mount Collector tool in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.